weekly wager. It is a Wednesday, and we are positioned above Potawatomi Sportsbook in the VIP deck. You can be with us really anytime. Get the VIP deck rented out for the draft, the playoffs, whatever you want to watch here at Potawatomi Sportsbook. You can do it. No better place to watch sports in the state with that 2,000 square foot video wall. And we got a lot to discuss here. Here's a little disclaimer. We are not going to have a show next week, Wednesday. So on the eve of the NFL draft, we will not have a weekly wager show. So we will spend ample time hopping into the NFL draft. On today's program, we'll also dive into the NBA playoffs and some interesting Brewers numbers, which are shifting. Greg, Ben, and Jen here with you. We will take you until 7 o'clock tonight. I do want to start with the playoffs here because there's some interesting information, and then it's sort of couched with additional information. And I think it's influencing the line that we're seeing in the Bucks-Pacers Game 1 anyway. We're not really sure on the outlook for the series just yet because Damian Lillard is such a big wild card, Jen. The information and news that he's making steady progress is great. Blood clot in the calf has had him out since mid-March, and the Bucks have done quite well, as a matter of fact, entering the playoffs with an 8-game winning streak, and that's great. The offense looks pretty good. Still, with that information, you're sort of kind of wondering what is the outlook for Damian Lillard, and now you've got reports from Shams Charania saying he's not going to be ready for the start of the postseason. I have to imagine this is influencing the line where the Bucks are 5.5-point underdogs in game number 1. How do you view this, given what you know of the Bucks, given what you know of the Pacers, given what you remember from their series last season in the first round?
They're hedging a little. They don't know what the Bucks are. I mean, we have seen them over these last 8 games where guys have stepped up, filled roles, let Giannis do his thing, right, to the tune of triple-double, triple-double, triple-double over and over again. Wow, that was harder to say.
Triple-double, triple-double, triple-double.
See? It's a tough one. But I think that they know who the Pacers are. They know what the Pacers are. And the Bucks, again, they have to show what they can do in the postseason. And then I think things will adjust. But this is a young team. And they're just sort of figuring out how to all play together without Dame Lillard. And that's why it was so valuable. Oh, don't forget about the Bobby Portis piece of it also, who was out for that long stretch with the suspension coming back. So this was about as good as it could go, given the situation the Bucks found themselves in. But that's how I read the number right now. It's also at Indiana, so give them a little credit for the home court advantage. I'm not going to read too much into it. I think that these teams match up well, and I think that Giannis is going to be Giannis. Like what we've seen from him, and if you haven't seen it yet, Thanasis did a podcast with Giannis, and that's on our new ESPN Wisconsin app. You can find that audio there. Doesn't he seem locked in, Ben? I mean, he seems like he's on another level of focus and dedication, and it sounds like he wants that ring real bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that stood out when I listened to Thanasis and Giannis, and one of them is a very evident one in which we haven't seen Giannis in the playoffs, and healthy. He did get hurt in the middle of the playoffs, I think, 2 years ago, and then obviously last year, no bueno. Damian Lillard was a decoy. But I think my big thing was you could hear how much he cares, how much he wants it, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that heading into the playoffs, Giannis was playing some of his best basketball, and I don't think it has anything to do with Dame wasn't out there so he had more time to do what he wanted. I just think he's just built that whatever team is around him, he is going to give it his all, and I love that he is talking about how I am healthy. And when he has the confidence that he can do whatever he wants with his body and he doesn't have to think twice about anything, it's so hard to play an entire season. And he didn't point to, I've had this, I've had that. He's like, I feel good. I want to get this done. And when he says, I want to get this done, he wants a championship. Whether it's this year or that year, his mindset never changes. And so it doesn't matter who's around him. I'm loving the fact that he wasn't like, oh, well, Dame's out. Like, we're not going to be able to, come together. He has an expectation in how he performs, practices, recovers, plays, that if you don't grab on to that same intensity, you probably won't be on the floor with him. So it was great to see everyone rise to the level that he was showing on the court. So I love that they're underdogs. I love it because Giannis doesn't care. Giannis is one of the best players in the world, playing the best he's played in a long time, 2-time back-to-back Eastern Conference Player of the Week with ridiculous numbers. I don't care who they played. They have played at a level of like, holy cow, get me Giannis in the playoffs against the Indiana Pacers, knowing that he had to watch and couldn't do anything about it. Adds to the competition that is just ingrained in his soul. Gives him another reason to want to be out there, just give it his all. I'm just excited. I'm excited to see Giannis. I hope that the other pieces that had regular season success towards the latter half of the stretch elevate with him. But ultimately, I'm excited to see him go at the Pacers.
Who do they have, the Pacers, to shut down Giannis?
Well, nobody, but they can throw a lot of bodies at him. But I'm so interested to see where this series is going to go from a point perspective, because we've seen this year after year, right? And I go back to, when the Bucks played the Brooklyn Nets, right? If Kevin Durant had a size 18 shoe, Mike Budenholzer probably gets fired a year ahead of time and the Bucks don't win a title. Those teams were among the best offenses in the league when they matched up a few years back. And you had it was like 92-86, right? The finals in a game that was played out in Brooklyn, because real defense gets played in the playoffs. It's just different. So your questions, and it's hard to answer because you see real defense played in the playoffs and you don't really see it during the regular season. Now here's another thing that I think underscores that point. The over-under for game number 1 is 225. That seems incredibly low to me if you look at how these teams performed in the regular season and against one another.
Yeah, I was going to say, and even going back to the playoffs without Giannis.
Yes, so go back, right? Let's go back to the regular season. There was not an over-under. Let's see. I'm looking at game number 1. Total 246, doing the quick math. Total in game number 2 of 4 during the regular season, 232, 229, and 245. So every one of the games played during the regular season, somewhat comfortably above the over-under that is listed at 225 for game number 1. Is that a product, Ben, of just the way that defense is played in the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, it's an entire shift. Everyone knows this. 82 games is a long season, and listening to the podcast on the way in, Giannis had a coach that told him, you can have 5 to 10 games as a superstar where you have off days. The other 72, you have to perform. So in his mind, he's already prepared for a 7-game series the way he's attacked the regular season. And of course, the Pacers have played the Bucks, and everyone does this before they play the Bucks. They look at Giannis and they say, how are we best going to stop him? And it's up to Giannis to figure out, based off the defense that they are playing, are my teammates able to knock down shots? If they're not knocking down shots, then you're going to see Giannis probably have to do more than he wants to do, but he will adjust accordingly. And this is the first round, right? Like I know we're talking about a first round like we didn't used to have to talk about a first round. I remember when it was like, the Bucks were playing the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, foregone conclusion.
And it was done. But I think this is a big thing because it matters for the future of the Milwaukee Bucks to, despite how it happened, the injuries of the last 2 years, you can't go 3 years without winning a first round playoff series, because if you don't, you're going to have to tell Giannis what the plan is to make sure that no matter what happens, you have the pieces in place to make sure that he is here for the future. And so what's ironic about this is a lot of this is in Giannis' hands as well, because he needs to play based off Damian Lillard being out, based off the young talent around him. He has to be an MVP-like player for 7 games. Fair or unfair, that is the expectation he needs to play at, and that's what they're going to need in order to win.
I like to find value on the board, Jen. If we're just looking at game number 1, Bucks are 5.5-point underdogs. The over-under is set at 225. Yes, it's game 1, so we haven't really been able to explore any sort of trend. We won't likely until game number 3. But do you see value in either one of those?
I mean, honestly, I would take Bucks money line. It's plus 175. I feel very confident that the Bucks will beat the Pacers. You could be like, well, that's a crapshoot. But, one of the numbers that I pulled here from Yahoo Sports, NBA's tracking data says that Siakam defended Giannis most in those matchups when the Pacers and the Bucks have faced off. That Giannis scored 47 points on 67% shooting against Siakam. And then Miles Turner was the second option against the Greek Freak, and he allowed 38 points on 56% shooting in only 39 possessions per the tracking data. That sounds real good. If you're a Bucks fan,
yes,
I would take either of those nights from Giannis Antetokounmpo against those Pacers defenders.
Well, it points to a prop, the high score in the game. Giannis is by far and away the leader of the pack here. This is involving both teams, and he's minus 275. That indicates a team playing without Damian Lillard, more balanced scoring from the Pacers, who get balanced scoring typically, and the Bucks playing through their best player and one of the most dominant players on the planet. Minus 275 for Giannis to be the high scorer in the game on Saturday.
Now, they did give that as a best bet, and I want to put this out there. I do think the Bucks will win this game. I would not be surprised if they lost, only because it is at Indiana. This is a team that you feel like is still sort of coalescing. Is that the word? They're still sort of coming together, if you will.
More cohesive.
Cohesiveness, all of that. And for some of these guys, it's their first playoff game in a Bucks uniform. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I haven't gone through the roster, to be honest with you, about how many guys it'll be their first playoff game. But, there's going to be some of that. I'm not going to sit here and say that there will be no anxiety attached to the performance. But the good news is, it's not a one-game series.
I've never seen Giannis more locked in a long time because he's so hungry. And what is hungry is a dangerous. What's so dangerous is a hungry superstar. There was a clip that was going around where Giannis was talking trash during the Detroit game in ways that we've never seen Giannis talk trash. It almost didn't feel real. Malik Beasley.
Thank you. I was trying to think of who it was.
Cunningham.
That was a wild situation, by the way.
It actually started before that. Cade Cunningham was at the free throw line, and Giannis was chirping and getting after it. I'm like, is this Kevin Porter Jr. and Bobby Portis and all? Just some of the guys that they have. What they've been missing, I think, is a little bit of edge. And having Bobby back obviously brings edge. They've always been Chris is going to be the efficient, fluid scorer. Drew's going to bring solid defense, but there's an edge. And I think you're going to need an edge, especially Indiana's not a tough place to play. In the playoffs, those fans are crazy people. They just are. And I love everything that feels like is going right for Indiana, putting Giannis in the doubtful mentality. Can he do it himself? There's no player right now, based off the performance that he's had the last 2 weeks, that I'd want playing in any game right now than Giannis. And that includes, obviously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jokic. I want Giannis on my team, no matter who's the other four guys, because he is in a mindset where he will his team no matter what. Whether they get it done with that mindset, to be seen, but I'm so excited to see him, based off what I'm hearing, based off what I'm seeing, how locked in he is, as you mentioned earlier, John.
Over-under in this game number 1 on Saturday, is 225. 3 of the 6 playoff games played between the Bucks and Pacers last year went under, to the point of real defense being played. Keep in mind, the Bucks did not have Giannis on the floor for that entire series. It's going to be interesting. When we come back, I want to get your thoughts. I do want to look at kind of a broad view of the NBA playoffs here, but how much of the regular season can be used as the backbone of your postseason wagering strategy? It really does feel like a new season is going to begin here, or in the case of the play-in tournament, has already begun. Just getting underway here. Our program, The Weekly Wager, continues after this.
More bets coming up. This is The Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN.
Oh, can't show you in there.
Why not?
That's the bathroom. We need a new shower bad.
Think your shower is one of the ugliest in Wisconsin? Upload your photo by April 30th to goodkarmabrands.com/Wisconsin contest for a chance to win a free shower remodel. One lucky fan will win a free shower remodel from Kohler Services, including design consultation, demolition, and removal of your existing shower or bath, and installation of a brand new Kohler Luxstone shower. goodkarmabrands.com/Wisconsin contests.
Julie Granger is the president of Junior Achievement of Wisconsin. Julie, your organization has business technology from James Imaging Systems. Yet today, please tell us about Junior Achievement's unique mission.
Junior Achievement of Wisconsin has a mission of inspiring and preparing young people for success in a global economy. We serve students anywhere from kindergarten through 12th grade, and we just started serving young adults 18 to 25.
I understand financial literacy is also an important part of your mission.
Financial literacy is critical to the long-term success of every individual so that they can plan their futures and they can live their dreams.
To help turn those dreams into reality, how can everyone get involved?
We are looking for people who are willing to donate their time, treasure, and talent to the organization.
What's the first step?
The best way to reach us is through our website, wisconsin.ja.org.
James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
At Grunberg Law Offices, we take great pride in helping those who have trusted us after a serious accident. Our team has the knowledge resources, and experience to get you the results you deserve. Don't wait to get the help you need. Make the right call. Call Gruber Law Offices today. Proud partner of your Milwaukee Bucks. One call, that's all.
At minus 196, we start with whole lemons, nothing wasted. Each one is flash frozen in liquid nitrogen to a jaw-dropping negative 196 degrees Celsius, locking in the freshest flavor. Then we crush it, not just juice, the entire fruit, turned into fine particles and infused into premium vodka. The result? A crystal clear, bold lemon flavor like nothing you've tasted. Minus 196. Freeze, crush, infuse. The ultimate refreshment. Available now. Please drink responsibly.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Hey, it's Kyle Wallace. Right now, buy 2 windows, get 2 free. No limit. Pay no interest until 2030, plus $500 off your home improvement project. Restrictions apply. Call 414-410-2000.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
At Mentality, they leave no man behind. A friend of Mentality suffered a nightmare in January when his teenage daughter was paralyzed after a truck accident. Mentality will be hosting a fundraising event this Friday from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at its office, 2323 North Mayfair Road in Tosa. There will be silent auctions, a 50-50 raffle, food trucks, and free men's health screenings. All money raised will go to purchase an Action Track chair for this family. Consider stopping by to help this Friday at Mentality from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m.
Wisconsin is still cattle country, and that's why Bunzel's chose to stay close to home to hand select the finest beef. Quality goes into everything they do, from Bunzel's expansive array of meats, homemade specialty sausages, and their award-winning beef jerky. It just isn't a proper holiday meal without Bunzel's top quality cuts on the dinner table. Tasting is believing. Visit Bunzel's at 90th and Burleigh or bunzels.com.
This is the Weekly Wager live from Potawatomi Sportsbook on 94.5 ESPN and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Welcome back in. It's the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN. Greg, Ben, and Jen with you till 7 o'clock tonight. So the play-in tournament has already begun. A couple games on the schedule tonight. You can watch them right here at Potawatomi Sportsbook. But really the NBA playoffs feel like another season, right? This is like a 2-month odyssey for the team that wins it all. They'll be playing into the month of June, which begs the question, Ben, how much of a regular season can be used as the backbone of a postseason wagering strategy? Do you look at like separate entities here? The regular season was the regular season, the postseason, you start anew. What you thought you knew about the NBA, you really don't know about the NBA.
Yeah, it's a good question because we've had a look at a little bit of both now. Under Mike Budenholzer, I mean, they used to pummel teams and just pummel teams in the regular season, shoot for that number 1 seed, go for that number 1 seed, and obviously it worked out in the 2021 season. And now we've kind of entered this era of, the team and injuries. So it's hard for me, especially with the fluidity of the roster changing this year, right? Like there's no Chris Middleton. He was traded. Damian Lillard, if he does come back, what does that mean in terms of adding to the cohesiveness that they've grown the last 2 weeks? How does it get reacclimated with the Bucks? So I think for me, I lean liking the Bucks, as Jen said, but probably not betting this game and seeing how the players react to a playoff environment, because there are some pieces here that are new to this.
I think it depends on the team. For me, your question and the answer is team dependent. And I look no further than the odds for the NBA championship. The Oklahoma City Thunder are plus 150, the Boston Celtics plus 175, Cleveland Cavaliers plus 500. Well, you know what? The top 3 teams in the league. And so they're considered to have their best chance of winning the NBA championship. In Vegas, they're not wrong all that often. We want to sit here and try to find the areas where they maybe misjudge an outcome. these teams are considered the most likely to win the title because they were the best teams during the regular season. I think in the case of the Bucks, when you talk about the roster and going through some transitions and players healthy or not healthy, that has always been the Bucks' kryptonite, is their health late in the season and in the postseason. So it stands to reason that they would be two different teams during the regular season and during the postseason when all of those health issues sort of catch up with them. So I think I don't want to tell people to have one betting strategy that every team is the same team from the regular season to the postseason. But I got a feeling that these teams that we're seeing, again, matchup dependent, it all depends on who you end up matching up against in the postseason. These teams, I feel like, will be the last team standing based on what they did consistently during the regular season, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, they're like the consistency that the Cleveland Cavaliers showed. Like it was like early on, are they a real team or is this just a fun story? They continued on by being a good team throughout the entire season, proving that with consistency. So there's someone I look at and be like, all right, if you're going to match up with them, again, all matchup dependent wise, do you have the horses to keep up with them in 7 games, right? I think Giannis can will you in a series, but you're going to need more if you're going to go farther, right? You're going to need a potential break that, again, it's so interesting to talk about the Damian Lillard side of things because it's not like an injury. It's like a health concern, right? Like you can't mess around with the blood clot. You have to be like 110% sure you're not putting your like health and body and life at risk by going out there. So to me, it's just so interesting to see how this first round goes. If they're able to get through this first round, do they have the horses in the stable after they moved on from some pieces, the pieces they get back? Is Kyle Kuzma going to be consistent enough to actually help this team deeper than if he can gather some momentum here in the first round?
I got to be honest with you when it comes to Kyle Kuzma, guys. Like, I just don't know if he knows what his role is on this team.
That's completely fair. I think he's searching every day 100%. To figure out is he going to be a stretch guy to help make 3-point shots? Is he on the defensive end just an on-ball guy? Because off the ball, like he clearly is still lost in who he is on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's an indicator that he's a bad player. I think once he finds that groove, wherever it is, whatever they decide is the best role for him on this team, I think he's going to be a productive member of this team.
The problem that I have with that is all the other teams that we're mentioning already have those 100%. Defined roles.
Yep.
And the best teams that I've ever played on or ever watched, and when the Bucks were great, you knew what each player was going to bring night in and night out. And so trying to find that in the middle of the postseason is really, really tough.
But
and
to be honest, some of that is a byproduct of when he was traded. Like
Correct.
Some of it is we knew it late in the season with that addition, Greg, we knew that was going to be a work in progress. Unfortunately, it feels like it still is, but I have a tough time, I'm being honest, I have a tough time blaming him for it. I do wish it had gone quicker. I do wish we were like, oh, that's what Kyle Kuzma is good for in this offense and defensively. That's what he's going to bring to the table during this postseason run. But if I just keep hoping every time I watch this team that it's going to click, and that was I'm trying to be candid
Kuzma.
about this. It just hasn't yet. Yes.
Kuzma specifically, yeah. It's a lot of hope right now, and when you're hoping at this point in the game, it's never good.
That is in part why the Bucks are 5.5-point underdogs and not being looked at favorably in this series, though I think Damian Lillard's health certainly will speak and maybe change the way these numbers go about. Here's one thing to note. 11 games without Lillard. In fact, there were a couple of more than that, but I looked at 11-game stretch without Lillard to finish the season. The Bucks won 8 out of those 11 games and averaged 123 points. And they were playing for something, right? I mean, they were definitely playing for something and playing against teams that were also playing for something. And the offensive uptick, I think, is largely attributed to Giannis just on a heater, but also Kevin Porter Jr. Mm-hmm. Now you got a really interesting wrinkle that Indiana has to try and figure out. He is the player who has settled into his role, which could increase in the postseason, and that's why I think I still like over 225, especially in Game 1 here, this Bucks and Pacers series. Let us find value here on the board. Let's look at the playoffs as a whole. The best value on the board to win it all, to win the East, to win the West. I am very intrigued here that not a single team exists in the Potawatomi Sportsbook that you have to put a little more money down to reclaim your bet and then some. The Oklahoma City Thunder plus 150 to win a title. Boston Celtics are plus 175. As I look at it, I think the Celtics might be the best value here, even though Cleveland is lurking at plus 500. That number really stands out to me. But Boston is the only team in the East with negative money. negative 167 to win the East. The odds makers like Boston to win the East. And I think if you put them up against Oklahoma City, they end up winning it all. I think the best value is Boston at plus 175 to win it all.
I mean, you're not going to hear any arguments, again, in terms of done it before, a lot of continuity, a lot of defined roles, 2 superstars, great role players that know what their responsibility is. I mean, I'm not going to argue against that. I think part of the Cavalier story is a lot of the times in all of sports, you have to get to a certain place. And the Celtics went through this for so long. We even watched it even as the Bucks lost to them in the Eastern Conference semis when Chris Middleton got hurt in 2022. They were still building towards becoming a championship team. Now, this is a team that we all know can do it. The same with the Thunder. Like, the Thunder odds I wouldn't touch at all. Like, a very young team, right? One of the best players in the world on their team in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and obviously other pieces. But I'm going to trust, call me square, of the NBA series championship prices, NBA championship prices, the Celtics and the Lakers are home looking at. Luka just went to a championship. He's paired up with somebody who's won NBA championships and went to a million NBA finals with way worse talent than having a Luka Doncic on his team. The Boston Celtics just did it. I tend to lean more towards the veteran group versus the 2 younger teams that are ascending. And Donovan Mitchell has experience, but I'm talking overall in terms of playoff experience, deep runs, having what it takes in a Game 7 series against guys who have been there. I lean Celtics, Lakers. If we're going back to Bird Magic in a finals, I think that'd be fantastic.
I like the Cavaliers to win the East. I don't know that they will, but I still like the number there of 175. I'm looking at the matchups, guys, because I couldn't recall them off the top of my head between Boston and Cleveland this season. You got a 3-point game on November 19th that Boston won. You got a 4-point game on December 1st that Cleveland won. You got a 7-point game on February 4th that Boston won. And you got a 7-point game on February 28th. That's 2-2, right? Did I do that correctly?
Yeah. So this goes back to the Greg question about regular season versus postseason. I remember watching as a college kid when Derrick Rose, before his ACL injury and his knee injury, in the regular season, the Bulls would always have LeBron's number. But when it came to the playoffs, they weren't able to ever really push past that. And so that's where it scares me when you look at that regular season. Like, the Celtics know, it's a big game in the regular season. But again, as these over-unders and as these spreads change because of the way that the playoffs are different than the regular season, it's hard for me to jump on the Cavaliers without seeing them do it deeper in the playoffs than they've ever gone before.
So it's an excellent point by you. It's an excellent point. And again, we talked about matchups, like who's to say who would be on the road for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this is not anti-Bucks, fan fiction over here that I'm trying to write. But it feels like, based on the regular season, it's a bit of a coin flip between those 2 teams. And if I can get plus 175 odds on a team that might be a coin flip if they go up against Boston in the East, I don't know, guys. That's something I might think about putting some money down on.
I feel like this happens in stages, right, with teams like the Cavs who are looking for that breakthrough, maybe to the Eastern Conference Finals before they break through the ceiling and get to the championship. It's kind of what happened with the Bucks, if you want to use a recent example. Boston certainly tried and true. Oklahoma City young and ascending and very fun to watch, and a more veteran-laden team with the Lakers. The number on the Bucks to win the East is plus 5,000. The Pacers, for what it's worth, is plus 2,500. The odds makers, the money is all on Indiana to win this series. How much does a healthy Lillard shift the numbers? Even if he's not able to play Game 1, Ben, let's say it happens in Game 2. Let's say it happens in Game 3. Now, again, you've played a couple of games, so you're running out of time, perhaps, especially if you're down. But how much can a guy like that move these numbers?
Not as much as you would think. I mean, maybe plus 5. And again, if they get out of the first round against the Pacers, if the Pacers are plus 2,500 and the Bucks are plus 5,000 to win the East, if Lillard comes in and they have a 3-1 lead somehow, maybe they go to plus 3,000. I think the worry when you look at the Bucks team is when you look at the top 2 teams in the East, the depth of talent around them that is established. Like, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and then they have like these role players that come in that like remind me of when the Bucks were great.
Sam Merrill,
Max
right,
Strus.
coming in, sucking up threes and knocking them down.
Dean Wade is the 10th guy. I never thought I'd be mentioning his name when I watched him at Kansas State in college, but he can come in and produce as the 10th man for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Who's the 10th man the Bucks you're looking at and saying, yeah, if we're in trouble or have injuries, who can step up?
I think it's Pat Connaughton.
Well, it might be. Yes, I was just going to say that.
Pat Connaughton was that guy in the Bucks championship run who was unbelievable.
He was.
He was awesome. But that's not who he is anymore. And ask him to be don't get mistaken on that 40-plus point game in the last game of the season.
Still was pretty cool to see.
It was awesome,
yeah.
and I enjoyed it. But again, you are older. You're not the same player, not as athletic. You haven't been as consistent. Defensively, you're a step different. Athletically, you're a step different. And that's where the worry is of why the line won't change as dramatically even if Lillard comes back, because you need more than two guys that do on a consistent manner to change the way that the outlook of this Eastern Conference will go.
Let me ask you guys this very quickly before we pivot to another topic. If the Bucks can't win the East, who do you want to win the East? Because I got to tell you, I don't want to see Boston win it again, which might be part of the reason why I'm willing to throw, a 10 spot behind the Cleveland Cavaliers at plus 175 to win the East. Like, I also will tell you this, I'll put $10 down on the Bucks with their plus 5,000 odds, because you know what? That's a coffee. That's a Starbucks for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm willing to do that. And let's say they fall into it.
On our show, Kyle Bruston-Ortman, Homer was like, don't just do it with me. $20, it pays you $3,000. He's like, I'll take your pocket change. It's the same sort of thing. But
he's saying instead of betting on it, just give it to him.
Yeah, just give it to me. Just give it to me. But to be honest, if you think that there's a potential that Damian Lillard comes back and you have two top 75 players that can click, they can do something, because Giannis is still in his prime and Dame can make big shots. He's going to have to be the guy late in the clock. But that's what scares me, is coming off of this injury, how quickly can he get ramped up? So I think it's a fun $5 coffee bet for sure. Wouldn't go for a lunch bet.
Orlando Magic is my answer to that question.
That's who you want to win the East.
Well, if you're saying want, right, from a fan perspective, not a wagering perspective, I don't like any team in the East except the Bucks.
I just watched that Boston Celtics documentary on Max.
Chewy said he watched it too.
It's really good. It kind of made me like the history of the Celtics.
Well, sure, you can like the history.
I know. I got trapped. I got trapped by Red Auerbach.
I didn't see it, but Chewy said that it made Patino so despicable. He hates him even more now.
I love Patino.
I don't love the Orlando Magic players. I don't like the Wagners, although it's a good team. But I am a huge John Hammond fan, and I would love to see him win a title for a team that
Shouts
he built.
To John Hammond for believing in me to be a Milwaukee Buck in Summer League.
And Giannis. Antetokounmpo is not in Milwaukee without John Hammond.
One of the true good guys in the NBA, John Hammond. We will not have a show next week. That means we need to explore the NFL draft. Some interesting numbers here. I want to look at the position numbers. Where is the money going? What do the odds makers believe the Packers will do with their first pick? Not necessarily first round pick, but their first pick. We've got the position by position numbers. We'll go through it after this.
We're back talking bets after this on the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN.
It's one call, that's all with Gruber Law Offices. If your loved one is ever injured in an accident, do not hesitate to make one call, that's all to Gruber Law Offices, because they stand up for victims and they take the burden off your shoulders. They focus on the legal aspect while you can focus on healing. And not only do they do that, they also provide the best care, and there is no fee until they win your case. Call them today at 414-276-6666 or visit them at gruber-law.com.
Looking for a Milwaukee tradition? It's Saz, and for nearly 50 years, Saz's have been serving up award-winning ribs that'll make your taste buds dance. Don't miss our festival-famous mozzarella marinara, the appetizer that put us on the map and keeps Milwaukee coming back for more. Whether you're heading to a game or just catching up with family and friends, make Saz's your place to go. 55th and State. Saz's, where memories are made and stories are shared, one delicious bite at a time. Saz's State House, the finest. A Milwaukee tradition since 1976.
Enough is enough when it comes to living with joint pain. If you're experiencing chronic joint pain in your knees, your hips, your shoulders, or your back, it's time to call my friends at QC Kinetics. They're the nation's leader in regenerative treatments, and they're helping you get your life back. When I went to the Greenfield location and I got to see everything that QC Kinetics had in store to help its patients, I was amazed at all the different tools in their toolkit to bring people back to full health. We're talking plasma, platelets, PRP, cutting-edge regenerative treatments that are giving people their life back and giving them long-term pain relief. QC Kinetics is able to do all of this without surgery, drugs, or downtime. A healthier life is on the horizon for you, but you need to take that next step to call QC Kinetics to get your free consultation. Now is the time to start enjoying life without chronic joint pain. Call QC Kinetics today at 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor. If it's a celebrate or tailgate, when you're gonna recreate upstate. If it's a holiday, birthday, any date, you can save at discount liquor.
Easter's almost here. What are you bringing to the table? Hi, this is Marie from Discount Liquor. Pairing the right wine with your Easter dinner can turn a meal into a celebration. But you don't have to be an expert to find the right wine. That's what our knowledgeable staff is here for. With over 8,000 varieties of wine, Discount Liquor can help you choose between a light, fruity Pinot Grigio, a big, luscious Cabernet, or anything in between, all at the lowest prices in town. Visit us today at 51st in Oklahoma and Milwaukee, and on Barstow and Main in downtown Waukesha.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings.
Check out all of our weekly specials at DiscountLiquorInc.com. Happy Easter!
Discount Liquor.
Hi, Drew and Jonathan Scott here, reminding you that a lot of life's firsts are better with help from American Family Insurance. Like your first home expansion or your first big lightning strike. There's a first for everything. Get the right home policy at the right price with the right help from American Family's agents. Life's better when you're under American Family's roof. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Dr. Aaron Holtebeck and his team at Holtebeck Eye Center make vision care a top priority. They are your premium provider for eye care and corrective eye surgeries. Dr. Holtebeck has been helping local patients with their eye care needs for over 20 years. Dr. Nausheen Abbas joined the Holtebeck Eye Center team last September, and her practice philosophy is to provide patient-centered medicine by giving all options. Located in Brookfield near the corner of Calhoun and Capitol. Learn more about their services at holtebeck.com.
You're listening to the Weekly Wager live from Potawatomi Sportsbook on 94.5 ESPN and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Time to spend some time in the NFL draft. Believe it or not, the NFL draft will be here. It's 1 week from tomorrow, round number 1. We will not have a Weekly Wager show next week, Wednesdays, so we will explore all things NFL draft. Be very curious to see where these future numbers go following the draft, which we will explore in our next program. NFL draft, this is the one that I'm really interested in watching. I've been watching the numbers here for the last couple of weeks. We talked about it with Josh DiMaggio a couple of weeks ago. It's the position-by-position breakdown. And what the odds makers believe here at Potawatomi Sportsbook, the Packers are going to do with their first pick. Keep in mind, this is not necessarily a first-round pick. It is their first pick. So if they trade out of the first round into the second round, which they have done before, these numbers would stay the same. At the top of the list here, plus 110 is defensive line and edge. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 sort of look at this thing, which I think is interesting. Cornerback is number 2 at plus 175. Offensive lineman is number 3 at plus 500. Wide receiver is number 4 at plus 700. Linebacker is number 5 at plus 3,000, and some out-of-the-world numbers following.
Real quick, last week when I was sitting here with Josh DiMaggio, defensive line plus 150, cornerback was around plus 175, wide receiver was plus 300, and offensive lineman was plus 400. So although offensive lineman is now third, it's further away in odds at plus 500.
But can I be honest with you? And I'm not sitting here questioning whatever algorithm Potawatomi is using. Why? what in the last week?
It's not just Potawatomi.
No, I know.
They
I'm not saying
this everywhere. They take all the information.
Okay, so here's the thing, guys. What are we seeing in the last week that would lead us to believe it is less likely today than it was 1 week ago that the Packers are going to take a wide receiver? Because I'll tell you what has happened in the last week. They brought Tet McMillan to Green Bay.
Yeah, they ain't getting him.
No,
He'll be gone.
Listen, but the point is, yeah. But read between the lines, guys. The fact that they are devoting this much time. Look, time it's a resource, and the Packers are devoting time and a finite number of visits to this position. I don't want to sit here and be like I really hope that they do it for the first time since Javon Walker, so we can stop talking about Javon Walker. But there is evidence that they are prioritizing this position, and maybe they didn't want to, but the injury to Christian Watson, to me, was a turning point. And they sat there and went, the guys that we have didn't develop the way that we thought they were going to. Then they realized that the best teams in the league have playmakers at these positions. And for that reason, guys, I am intrigued. It's also so dependent on how the other teams draft. Right? I did a mock draft this afternoon, and, you can't take any of the guys who were taken above, right? So I'm looking at those defensive linemen that the Packers, I think, would be interested. Gone. I'm looking at the cornerbacks that the Packers, gone. They're gone. And again, this is a mock draft, so who knows how it'll shake out. But I ended up taking Golden with the 23rd pick for the Green Bay Packers because he was the best player available at a position of need.
Look, I'm with you in terms of looking at it in terms of, hey, if the board falls this way, but if they just have such a history that it's so hard to put my stamp on the thing that we all think that they should do based off the needs that we all believe they have. Even thinking about last year, I don't think anyone was thinking about the offensive line. Right? And then they draft Jordan Morgan. I think that has to do with the fact that 3 guys are up for contract. I don't know if they're going to sign all 3, Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, and Sean Ryan. But at the end of the day, I know we've seen them do it a lot. And there's 4 guys. I don't know if they're all going to start together, but 4 first-round picks are Sean Gary, Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, and Lucas Van Ness. Those are 4 guys that you made financial contract extensions for, 1 in which you got a third contract for Kenny Clark, 1 in which at the time you made a top 5 defensive, I guess at the 3-4, an edge rusher, now part of a 4-3 on the edge in Rashawn Gary, and the other 2 first-round picks. One of them 13th pick in the draft in Lucas Van Ness. And it was like, all right, well why would you you have to, because you just have to keep trying to find talent. If you solidify, here's what the tea leaves tell me. They went and got Aaron Banks. They have 5 offensive linemen and Jordan Morgan, who is going to try and battle for one of the spots, but they have depth now. The idea there is, if you saw what happened against Philadelphia when one went down early and Elton Jenkins, another went down later and they didn't have the depth, but it still affected them. Now they feel good about the depth. You still need to bring in talent, and that's the thing. Is I think they're just going to be looking for the best talent at edge and corner, and they have to. Because Keyshawn Nixon was signed to be a kick returner who was a slot nickel corner and now is going to be a mainstay needing to compete every day against the best wide receivers in a tough division with really good wide receivers. Carrington Valentine was drafted as a 7th-round pick, and he turned into a quality starter. Nate Hobbs has potential, but it's not a room where you're like a team that was 8th in points per game last year, which was very good in defense for the way that it felt. It didn't feel like they were. They know they need more talent on the defensive side of the football. And ultimately, whether it's fair or unfair, I think they're just going to expect the man that they paid $55 million to figure it out with the weapons that he has.
Oof, Greg, come on.
Let me give you a little perspective here. Because Jen is right. The Packers have brought in 6 wide receivers for workouts, 3 of whom I've seen with a first-round grade, according to different reports and whatnot. They have brought in 27 total players, 6 of whom were wide receivers, 6 offensive linemen, 5 edge, 5 corners, 3 defensive linemen, and 1 quarterback. 3 of the 5 edge guys brought in are factored into the first-round equation. 1 of the offensive linemen factor into the first-round equation. 1 of the corners factor into that equation. We've also heard this. Well, I didn't know the Packers were looking at me. Drafted in the first round.
I was just going to say
that happens all the time. I don't know where this came from.
Does not mean they're not thinking about you.
So I did a little historical perspective. I went and looked back. Who else have the Packers brought in over the course of time during Brian Gutekunst's tenure? And did it translate into draft picks? Christian Watson, yes, on that list. Amazingly.
Devontae Wyatt?
So let's go back to 2022. 2022, the Packers brought in 7 wide receivers. 7 wide receivers included in that group. Treylon Burks, who went number 18, never got to the Packers. George Pickens, Packers could add him twice, decided no. Christian Watson, that's the guy they went for.
But Pickens had all sorts of
baggage.
Character.
Well, he still kind of does. They also brought in Tyquan Thornton, Romeo Doubs. They ended up drafting Romeo Doubs. They also brought in Samori Toure and drafted Samori Toure. In previous years, they brought in Rashee Rice, decided not to draft him at that spot. They did bring in Dontavian Wicks. They brought in 4 others, didn't draft any one of them. So it's not an automatic. They're not going to reach at this position. But what I think Goody's mantra is the same as Ted's, where they bring all these guys in. Let's see what these first-round grades look like next to guys that may go in the second round. Is there a big separation, a big difference between the two? Because more than likely there isn't as much as really some others believe. I think they may hunt for that in pick number 2, but I think going at wide receiver at plus 700, you are lighting your money on fire if you think the Packers are going to take a receiver with their first pick.
Well, you also mentioned that it is not the first round pick necessarily. It could be their first pick. And if Brian Gutekunst loves to collect picks and decides to go back, that could make it more likely that it's a wide receiver.
That would be a Jordy Nelson situation. Packers were gluttonous at wide receiver. They did not need Jordy Nelson. That's the big difference between then and now. They traded down. They grabbed an extra pick in that particular draft in the second round.
And there are some mock drafts, Greg, there are some mock drafts that have the top 2 receivers falling. You know, there are some mock drafts and guys who put their big board together who have one of them going in the top 10, and then the other one sort of just like, well, this team needs this team needs this, and wide receiver isn't on their list of needs, and therefore you end up with it. Look, again, I'm not saying it's for certain or anything. I still think that the stat that I pulled up earlier today regarding the Green Bay Packers was regarding their pass rush. In 2024, the Green Bay Packers' pass rush win rate was 35%, which ranked them 26th among all NFL teams. That, to me, says they need to give it attention. If you look at the pieces that Brian Gutekunst got in free agency, he got an offensive lineman and he got a cornerback. To me, there's a part of you that could justify saying they've addressed those.
They still need a corner.
Sure. Absolutely. I'm not saying don't get a cornerback. I'm just saying that with your top pick, I feel less likely that a cornerback will be even though it's second on the board at odds plus 175.
Oh, I think it's a major, major glaring need.
Even if somehow on God's green earth,
Jair
is still with the team, what has told you that he's going to be available? And you're still going to need to backfill that position where you need more talent.
I'm going to go a step further. I think cornerback is borderline a disaster for the Packers right now.
So you think it could be their first pick? Because we haven't gotten a lot of attention on that.
Yes.
A lot of it has been on the defensive line / edge, and then, you know, whatever fan fiction fantasy you want to put in there.
I do. And if I'm looking at the numbers at plus 175, I do like defensive line and edge at plus 110 because it kind of feels like you're getting 2 positions there, right? I think there's some interesting value in that, the way they list it. But corner at plus 175, the Packers have done it, and it's not worked with Eric Stokes. They've done it, and it's not worked with Kevin King. It worked with Jair, but we're in this weird sort of space. Keyshawn Nixon is not a starting corner on the outside. Carrington Valentine probably is. Nate Hobbs is, I don't know, on the depth chart. Is he really much more than a nickel? The Packers have a problem at cornerback right now. I also think they have issues at receiver, but everything tells me it's more of their second pick that would go that direction. And that's just based on history. Based on history. They like corners in the first round. They've done it many times. It's not always worked, but they've done it. They haven't done the receiver thing for a long time. We'll come back with our best bets and wrap up the program on the other side. Looking forward to the NFL draft. Watch it here at Potawatomi Sportsbook. Make your arrangements to be down here where we are and enjoy the food, enjoy the drink specials. It's a great place to hang out. Potawatomi Sportsbook. We're back after this.
More bets coming up. This is the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN. You remember the moments from that magical March.
Side Decker. It's a 3. Got it!
On June 26th, celebrate the squad with Made 'em Believe, a special night with Bo Ryan, Frank Kaminsky, and Sam Decker.
Here's Kaminsky. The drop stab. That's his favorite. And the 2.
Presented by Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, Potosi Varsity Ale, and Potosi Hard Seltzer. Tickets are on sale now at UWHoops2015.com. Made 'em Believe. June 26th at the Orpheum Theater in Madison.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Q Myers. Tuesday night, the Atlanta Hawks lost in the play-in tournament to the Orlando Magic 120-95. But the story of the game is how the night ended for Hawks star Trae Young. With 4:47 left to go and down by 22, the frustrations of the night boiled over for Trae. Coming off a fancy bucket that he hit, he fires a chest pass to the officials. It arrived with a purpose. That earned the first unsportsmanlike tech. Then, while the official's trying to get set for the shot, he basically plays the game of keep away. Uses some fancy footwork to kick the ball away from the officials, looks to pass it, but instead spins it back to himself, and was out of there with his second unsportsmanlike call. And as officials said after the game, he was making a mockery of the game. Trae thought his teammates were not getting the calls they should, even though the Magic were whistled for 25 personal fouls and Atlanta only 18. Bottom line, the Hawks were getting that work from the Magic as they earned the 7th seed in a matchup with the Celtics in the playoffs. While Atlanta will be in the play-in elimination game on Friday. They'll need a focused and not frustrated Trae Young to extend their season. Coming up in 60 seconds, are the Giants confused or are they genius?
The sports calendar is heating up, and with ESPN Bet Sportsbook, you can go from checking news to stats to placing bets in a couple of taps. Stream games, bet live, and get exclusive offers when you link your ESPN account. Right now, you can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 wager. Download the ESPN Bet app and sign up with promo code USL to get started today. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Offer not available in New York.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The New York Giants are holding private workouts with 3 of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft, starting on Thursday with Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders, but also Louisville quarterback Tyler Shough and Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. Our Giants reporter Jordan Raanan has said this was always the plan, and he can't see the G-men drafting a quarterback that they've not had a private workout with. Now, my question at this stage of the game, with all the game film, meetings at the pro days, what else can they possibly learn about these guys that they don't already know? Or could they be throwing some last-minute misdirection to try to throw teams off the scent of who they actually might prefer in an attempt to get a quarterback-desperate team to trade up with them and they get more draft capital, eventually selecting the guy they want all along? The wild card here is Bama quarterback Jalen Milroe. He will be in Green Bay at the draft next week, meaning he believes he'll go in the first round. Could that be an educated guess? Or could that be a team like the Giants who pick early in round 2? They're actually thinking about trading into the back end of round 1 to select him if, in fact, he's there. For the Giants, is it confusion or is it genius? For the ESPN Sports Beat, I'm Q Myers.
Hey, it's ESPN Wisconsin's Brad Nortman. This Easter, Tsunami Express Car Wash is hopping into savings. From now until April 19th, get 50% off all washes. Whether you're looking for a quick clean or a top-to-bottom shine, they have you covered. Plus, a Tsunami Express membership makes the perfect Easter basket gift. Treat someone special to unlimited washes all year long. That's 50% off all washes through April 19th. Do not miss out. Visit Tsunami Express Car Wash today. Tsunami Express Car Wash. Wash, chill, repeat.
This is the Weekly Wager live from Potawatomi Sportsbook on 94.5 ESPN and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Time for best bets on the Weekly Wager. Wrapping things up here from Potawatomi Sportsbook. Reminder again, no show next week. We'll have expansive draft coverage. Looking forward to that. It's going to be an incredible event in Green Bay. Potawatomi is the place to be if you're not able to make it to Green Bay. In fact, Potawatomi is also offering shuttles to the draft. If you want to get to Green Bay, you don't want to have to worry about parking, driving, whatnot. Connect with the folks here at Potawatomi and get on a shuttle. Hop up to Green Bay. Enjoy your time. They even got a sort of a stay-and-play kind of package, but you stay here at the hotel at Potawatomi. It's good stuff. Check it out here at PaysBig.com. Time for Best Bets. Ben, let's start with you. What do you got?
I got a little late-night baseball. Did this yesterday for the Diamondbacks because I like the lineup career-wise that they had yesterday. I had over 5.5 for the Diamondbacks. I even called the Corbin Carroll home run. I wish I would have put money on that one. But tonight it is a 9:10 Central Dodgers Rockies game, and obviously the Dodgers are minus 320. The Rockies are absolutely garbage, but it's over 5.5 runs for the Dodgers that you're going to get at plus money. A little bit of added value for you. Ohtani, lifetime, not great against German Marquez, but Mookie Betts 1 home run, 3 RBIs, over 10 at-bats. Same with Freddie Freeman, 1 home run, 2 RBIs, over 10 at-bats. Then Teoscar Hernandez has never seen him, and Teoscar's just a machine. Tommy Edman, people don't know his name as much. He was from the Cardinals. He had a great end of the year last year. He's been amazing for the Dodgers. There's no holes. Then you go to Max Muncy, Andy Pages. The depth that they have and the way that they are able to just destroy pitchers, because you go from Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Teoscar, Conforto with power, then Tommy Edmonds in the freaking 6-hole, then Max Muncy, against a team that can't hit and can't pitch and can't do anything. I'm going to have some fun and go over 5.5 for plus money on the Dodgers.
All right. Jen, what do you like?
Okay, so I'm looking at that Bucks game, and I'm looking at Giannis Antetokounmpo to score 35 plus at plus 116.
Okay.
Giannis is going to carry this team. Giannis is on a mission. Giannis wants to win this series. He wants to win the whole dang thing. We feel like that might be a little bit tough considering the cast of characters surrounding him. But I like a 35-point performance from the Greek Freak against the Pacers in that first game with plus 116 right there.
That feels like a massive number, but I'm with you. Giannis is riding a heater right now. Speaking of a heater, the Heat are up 19-10 on the Chicago Bulls. That is my best bet. I got it in before the game started, by the way, just among our crew here as we went to break. The Heat were 2-point underdogs going into this game. I don't really understand why they have had the Bulls' number in this position the last couple of opportunities. The Bulls, quite frankly, just aren't that good, and now you could probably make the same argument about the Heat. They were 37-45. But they have Eric Spoelstra, and in a one-game setting, be it at home or on the road,
Heat culture.
I don't know if there's a better coach in a setting like this in the league. And I also just think the Heat are better. A little bit more star appeal. It's maybe not the same Heat team that we've seen beat the Bucks in the postseason, but I certainly think they have enough to beat the Bulls, and right now they're up 19-10. So my best bet, Heat as a 2-point underdog over the Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things here where the Bulls were a fun story, but a young fun story, and not built for this moment.
I kind of feel like they've been that for the last couple of years. Hey, the Bulls are doing something kind of fun, and then it just sort of
they had guys,
off.
though, Levine and DeRozan. Now they're just straight young, and Josh Giddey's been awesome and fun, but not good enough for Spoelstra.
All right, good enough. We hope you can come down and watch the draft here at Potawatomi or use that shuttle to get up there to the NFL draft. Enjoy it if you're going up there or if you're coming down here. Enjoy Heat and Bulls right after this on 94.5 ESPN.